Mongwana Nimare Lepo Vukenjani Kleklas Vanave Africa. Welcome to Africa Good Morning, the news and current affairs show bringing you everything you need to know happening on the African continent and beyond. You are joining us on Thursday, the 5th of September with Ashwin Mberi. Now, these are some of the stories that we're looking at. Today in South Africa, Gwarube defends the decision to halt 9.8 billion rand National School Nutrition Program tender. Burkina Faso issues new passports without the West African bloc's logo, and Mozambique and Indonesia to start producing vaccines, generic medicines as well. Follow all our programs on DSTV 2 at 5, GoTV 25 in Namibia, oneup2.com and Network Media Hub on YouTube. Talent Gore will also be filling us in on the news making waves in Zimbabwe. Stay with Africa Good Morning. Top stories shortly.
eTicket, your online ticket solution for events and event marketing, bringing you ease of mind and making sure that your event gets out there. For more information, contact events@nmh.com.na.
Let's get into the top stories on Africa Good Morning. In South Africa, Basic Education Minister Siviwe Gwarube has defended her decision to suspend the 9.8 billion rand tender for the National School Nutrition Program that would have appointed a single provider. Speaking during a hybrid plenary session of the National Assembly, Gwarube addressed questions from members of parliament regarding the pause. Now, the minister clarified that the halt of the contract for the school feeding scheme program was necessary for investigations into corruption allegations. Now, she assured that this suspension has not affected schools nationwide. I want to assure members of this House that there has been no disruption in the National School Nutrition Program. Now, Gwarube explained that upon taking office in July, she requested a modernization strategy to conduct due diligence. Now, this was necessary for two reasons, given the NSNP tender has a substantial price tag of nearly 10 billion rand and is a multi-year contract. I needed to satisfy myself that in fact this strategy will make sure that no child goes hungry in school. Now, Gwarube told Parliament that she had engaged with various provinces about their department's alleged failure to consistently provide nutritious meals to schools. In our next story, Burkina Faso has launched new biometric passports without the logo of the West Africa's main political and economic bloc on their cover, further signaling its determination to withdraw from the regional alliance after military leaders took power in a coup. Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali, three neighboring states, now led by military juntas, jointly announced in January they would leave the 15-member economic community of West African states, which has since sought to persuade the three to reconsider their decision. On this passport, there's no ECOWAS logo and no mention of ECOWAS either. Since January, Burkina Faso has decided to withdraw from this body, and this is just a realization of the action already taken by Burkina Faso. Security Minister Mahamadou Sana told reporters at the launch. Now, ECOWAS has warned that the three countries' withdrawal would undermine the freedom of movement and common market of the 400 million people living in the 50-year-old bloc. Moving on, Mozambique may soon start manufacturing vaccines for several contribute to improving people's quality of life. The information was shared yesterday in Bali by the country's Minister of Mineral Resources and Energy, Carlos Zacarias, at the end of the bilateral meeting between Mozambique and Indonesia. Now, Carlos Zacarias noted that to this end, the two parties are in advanced negotiations not only for the local production of vaccines, but also for some medicines, which could contribute to reducing the import of pharmaceuticals into Mozambique. Indonesia's coordinating minister for maritime affairs and investment, Luhut Pandajayana, stressed that his government's goal is to develop generic medicines for public use, improve the quality of health services, establish domestic production of vaccines, and promote medical and scientific research in partnership with renowned institutions in Mozambique. Now, the two ministers were unanimous in citing other areas of interest such as transport, fishing, and infrastructure. Indonesia is also interested in investing in the fisheries sector since Mozambique has a very advanced fisheries sector, said the Indonesian minister. Now, Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi began an official visit to Turkey for meetings with his Turkish counterpart Recep Tayyip Erdogan. It is the first official visit to Turkey by an Egyptian president in 12 years and comes amid a warming of relations between the two regional powers. In February, Erdogan made his first visit to Egypt in more than a decade after the two countries agreed to mend ties and reappointed ambassadors. Ties between Cairo and Ankara collapsed in 2013 after el-Sisi, who was then army chief, led the ouster of democratically elected Islamist President Mohamed Morsi amid mass protests against his divisive first year in power. Now, Morsi was a top figure in the Muslim Brotherhood organization, which has long been backed by Turkey. In this second summit between el-Sisi and Erdogan since they began mending relations, they will reportedly sign around 20 agreements. These are expected to focus on boosting cooperation on energy, defense, tourism, health, culture, and education. They will also discuss global and regional issues, particularly Israel's attacks on Gaza and the occupied Palestinian territories. In the last of our top stories, the man who had been chief engineer at South Africa's state-owned passenger rail company has been sentenced to 15 years in prison for faking his qualifications. Once hailed for his successful career, Daniel Mtimkulu was head of engineering at the Passenger Rail Agency for South Africa for 5 years, earning an annual salary of about 2.8 million rand. On his CV, the 48-year-old claimed to have several mechanical engineering qualifications, including a degree from South Africa's respected Witwatersrand University, as well as a doctorate from a German university. However, the court in Johannesburg heard that he had only completed his high school education. The sentence sends a strong message that the perpetrators of white-collar crime will not go unpunished, said Pindi Mjondongwane, spokesperson for the National Prosecuting Authority. Now, there is a huge issue in Zimbabwe with regards to the prevalence of car accidents, motor vehicle accidents, particularly in the public sector. And we'll be talking to Talent Gore about that story and more after the break.
Wedding fever is running high. For everything to do with weddings and marriage, tune in from 1 August and every last Thursday of the month thereafter at 6:30 on NTV for Tro Rock and Roll, our exciting new lifestyle show that goes hand in hand with Republicane's Bridal Couple of the Year competition. Don't miss out! Proudly sponsored by enjoy.my.na and Namdea.
All right, as promised, it's time for us to talk to Talent Gore about the news stories in Zimbabwe. Talent Wamkase.
Mamkase Africa.
Tamuka Hedu. Now, the government has reviewed legal radius for commuter omnibuses due to the prevalent road carnage in Zimbabwe. Do tell us more.
Yes, commuter omnibuses, which are popularly known as combis in Zimbabwe, with 20-seater and below, will no longer be allowed to operate beyond a radius of 60 kilometers. This was said by the government yesterday. They said that this is in a move aimed at curbing rampant road traffic crashes involving smaller private vehicles and also buses. So you find out that in Zimbabwe, as of this year in particular, we have been recording a serious number of road traffic accidents which are occurring on our roads, in particular between the combis, the commuter omnibuses, buses, and private vehicles. So a lot of people have lost their lives, and the Ministry of Transport has declared that the combis must only operate within a 60-kilometer radius, and if you want to travel a long distance, you have to go to a bus. And they have said that the commuter omnibuses, they should also install speed limits on their vehicles if they want to operate. The government also said that buses were more predictable and they were adhering to the correct traffic rules on the roads. But with what we see on the ground, that is not what is happening. You find out that buses in particular, they are the ones which are speeding, they are the ones which are breaking the road traffic rules in Zimbabwe. So the commuter omnibus is that we don't understand why us as commuter omnibuses have been banned or have been given this ban, given that buses are the ones which have caused most of the accidents that are happening right now. So the commuter omnibus associations have said that they are going to talk to the government to hear what the government is saying and also hear what is actually on the ground, because they believe that the buses are the ones which are causing road traffic accidents and not the commuter omnibuses. So we're just going to be monitoring the situation to see how the government is going to respond to what the commuter omnibus associations are saying in regards to the recent ban which was imposed yesterday on them.
All right, and we'll certainly be looking forward to more updates as that story develops. Now, teachers are declaring incapacitation this ahead of schools opening. What are their reasons?
Yes, I think this has become a norm now. Each and every term when schools are about to open, you hear teachers saying that they are incapacitated. So right now they are demanding a salary increment. They are saying that they want their salaries to be in US dollars and not the local currency. So right now the government pays its workers in local currency and they have a stipend of 200, if I'm not mistaken, USD. So the teachers are saying that they want their full salary in United States dollars. They're demanding 540 USD salary increment. So the government is saying that they can't afford to give them that money in United States dollars and they can only of them in the local currency. So teachers are saying that they will not be going to school next week. So schools are opening, they are opening on Tuesday next week. So the teachers are saying that they are not going to teach the students. They are not going because they are incapacitated. They will only go back there if the government adheres or if the government agrees to the demands of the teachers. So you find out that each and every term when schools are about to open, teachers and government, they are in talks saying that they are not going back to schools until they are given their money, and the government will be trying to negotiate to reach a point in which they will agree with the teachers to a certain amount of money. So it has now become a norm each and every term that teachers would declare that they are incapacitated and they will not be going back to the schools to teach the students when schools open.
Thank you very much, Talent, for bringing us the news stories as they are from Zimbabwe.
You're welcome, and thank you very much for having me.
All right. This is To Africa Good Morning. We're going to swing over to the weather predictions shortly before we return with economic news.
Welcome to Namibia, where adventure meets tranquility. With Enjoy, you have access to a wide range of accommodations to suit every traveler's taste and budget. Experience the finest dining and hospitality Namibia has to offer. Booking your dream accommodation is just a few clicks away with Enjoy. Join thousands of happy travelers who have trusted Enjoy for their Namibian getaway. Your gateway to unforgettable Namibian adventures. Visit us today at enjoy.my.na.
Let's get into the economic news stories. The Forum on China-Africa Cooperation held in Beijing is the biggest diplomatic summit in China in recent years. With 53 African heads of state in town, China declared the theme of the summit the first since 2018 as joining hands to advance modernization and build a high-level China-Africa community with a shared future. As they arrived, leaders were greeted by dancers, lines of Chinese troops, and cheering flag-waving children. Xi Jinping himself hosted delegations at an opening banquet and ceremony on Wednesday before discussions began in earnest. Now, analysts say the event is about cementing Chinese influence on the continent and chipping away at the U.S. In recent decades, China has struck trade, infrastructure, and security deals worth billions as part of its Global Belt and Road Initiative. But China's investment in Africa has dropped sharply in recent years amid domestic economic woes, while the U.S. seeks to catch up amid an intensifying race for global dominance. To strengthen bilateral relations between Tunisia and Nigeria, the ambassador, Republic of Tunisia to Nigeria, Mohsen Antite, has said direct flights between Tunisia and Nigeria are projected to begin in 2026. He said this during a press briefing with journalists on Wednesday in Abuja. He said the introduction of direct flights is crucial for facilitating closer business, political, and cultural interactions, adding that improved air connectivity is expected to ease travel for both business people and tourists, thereby strengthening economic and diplomatic relations. Mohsen said flights between Nigeria and Tunisia are primarily operated by non-African airlines, and the only African airline to offer a direct link recently is Morocco's Royal Air Maroc, which launched a flight between Abuja and Casablanca in June 2024. Let's head over to the economic indicators before Ari brings us the sport.
eTicket, your online ticket solution for events and event marketing, bringing you ease of mind and making sure that your event gets out there. For more information, contact events@nmh.com.na.
Good day, everyone. Time for international sports news, and starting off with tennis news first. It is the US Open that continue at Flushing Meadows in New York, and good news for the American supporters. They've got two men's players that's going to play in the semi-final, so there will be one at least in the final. It is firstly Francis Tiafoe. He's the 20th seed. He beat Grigor Dimitrov by 6-3, 6-7, 6-3 and 6-1. That was in the quarterfinals to advance to the semi-finals. And then also Taylor Fritz, a great win for him. He's the 12th seed, Taylor Fritz, and he beat Alexander Zverev, the 4th seed player from Germany. He beat him in 4 sets to advance to the semi-final. The other quarterfinal still to be played is number 1 seed Yannick Sinner. He will play against number 5 seed Daniel Medvedev, and the other quarterfinal still is Jack Draper versus Alex de Minaur. In the women's side of the draw, it's number 2 seed Aryna Sabalenka with a comfortable win over Kunmin Zheng from China. That was also in the quarterfinal. She beat 6-1 and 6-2 to advance to the semi-final, and there she will play against Emma Navarro from the United States. Emma Navarro beat Paula Badosa of Spain in the quarterfinals. Also 2 big semi-finals still to be played. Number 1 seed Iga Swiatek still in the tournament, and she will play number 6 seed Jessica Pegula of United States, and then number 22 seed Beatriz Haddad Maia from Brazil. She will also play in the semi-final and the quarterfinal against Caroline Muskova. So that's all still happening, the US Open in New York. Moving on to cricket news, it is England that confirmed that the coach of the test team, that is Brendan McCullum, will also coach the one-day side. That is a team that plays in the T20 and 50 over ODIs. And it's not often that happens. All other countries split that responsibilities. And it will be Brendan McCullum that will start with that responsibility from the 1st of January next year in 2025. Tough assignment. His first ODI series will be against India. That will be a away series in India. There will be 5 T20 games and 3 50 over internationals. And closing off today's international sports news, it is Formula 1 racing news. The next Grand Prix will be this coming Sunday. It will be Azerbaijan, and it's very competitive at the moment in the constructors' points table. It is Red Bull that still lead. They've got 446 points, but only leading by 8 points over McLaren on 438, and then Ferrari on 407, still in contention, and Mercedes-Benz 292. More news from Formula 1 is that race engineer Adrian Newby might still join Aston Martin, and there's strong speculation that he will join them from 2025. It was announced in April that Newby will go away from Red Bull. He was there for many years and is regarded as the best race engineer in Formula 1. And that announcement will only be made on the 10th of September. At the moment, Aston Martin struggling a little bit. They're lower down on the points. They're in 5th position with 74 points. That's international sports news for today. Hope you have a great sport day, and we talk international sport again tomorrow. Goodbye.
Thank you for staying with Africa Good Morning throughout the broadcast. Here are some of the highlights from the show. Gwarube defends the decision to hold the 9.8 billion rand National School Nutrition Program tender in South Africa. Burkina Faso issues new passports without the West African Bloc's logo. China is hosting African leaders in a lavish display of its global ambition. DSTV 285, GoTV 25, OneUp2.com, and Network Media Hub on YouTube is precisely where you can find us. From me, Ashwin Berry, and the Africa Good Morning team, Soya Shakanaka.